Hey everyone, today is a new day. I'm super excited. It is actually beautiful here in southeastern Kentucky. It's a little on the chilly side, but it's been a beautiful day. Beautiful Sunday to spend time in church with our church family and then also in worship, serving our great and powerful Lord who is so good to us. I actually had a really bad week. No, really. I had something happen to me this week, and it is, life is just like a big puzzle piece, a big puzzle, and there's all kinds of pieces that the Lord gives us a piece of the puzzle, and He lets us take that piece of the puzzle to prepare us for things that may be just around the corner or just around the next day. So, again, I'm Elizabeth Daniels, and I am a Christian fiction author who really loves to write romance, suspense, with a little bit of romance, a little bit more suspense, and a whole lot of Jesus. So, but this channel again is Wisdom, Wit, and What You're Reading. And so, even though I had a really bad week this week, I want to segue that here in just a minute. I did want to let you know what I was reading this week. And this week, I read this beautiful book that my mother had gifted me, and it's by Max Lucado. Love Max Lucado. It's called You Will Get Through This. And if you have anyone in your life who's going through a hard time right now, I'm a cancer survivor, so that's the first thing I always go to. If you have someone who's going through a sickness right now, or an illness, or a heartbreak, or anything. I mean, you could be having a loss of a job, a loss in any sort. This is a great book. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you briefly, because I try to keep these down, and I do have a treat for you today. I'm going to read just a little bit of my own writing that I have in a book of mine. I don't think I've titled it yet, but I've got the book finished, but I don't have a title for it yet. But I have a book that is about all kinds of nefarious characters and all kinds of crazy things that are going on. But there's a scene in this book that actually mirrors this topic of what I'm talking about. And I want to segue this with the fact that no matter what others think of you, at the end of the day, no matter what others think of you, or anything that you've done or anything about you, you need to remember you are a child of God, and you are always enough. You're always enough. Listen, He loved you so much. Look what He did for you. So anyway, I'm not going to go into that because I need to go into this. But at the end of the day, I want you to understand that and know that. It's very important. So this book by Max is obviously about how to get through bad situations. And so in the first chapter, he digs in to Joseph. And whenever I think of Joseph, I think of Dolly Parton's little song about the coat of many colors that my Mama made for me. And actually, my mom did make me a coat when I was a kid, but it was only one color. It was pink. But this was a coat of many colors. And, Joseph lived the good life. He was the favorite. He was the favorite child. And his brothers got a little sick of that. And so I want to read just a paragraph of what Max is saying about Joseph, because, Joseph had a very bad day. Joseph had very bad years. And when I tell you I had a bad week, it is nothing like this. But, we do get caught up in our own misery sometime and realize that a lot of our stuff's just short and temporary. Whereas we have some folks in the Bible who really had to wait a long time for some things to get better for them. But anyway, the brothers caught Joseph far from home. These are Max Lucado's words, not mine. Far from home, 60 miles away from Daddy's protection, and went nuclear on him. They stripped Joseph of his tunic, and they took him and cast him into a pit. Defiant verbs. Ouch. They wanted not only to kill Joseph, but also to hide his body. Now, I'm sorry, as a suspense writer, I am like all seeing this, okay? This was a murderous cover-up from the get-go. We shall say some wild beast had devoured him. And that's verse 20. I have read this many, many times. And I did a Bible study with my ladies group on Tuesday. And this is actually what I pulled for the study. I'm going to go over my 5 minutes because I'm already on 4. Doggone it. But anyway, I hope y'all spare me just a few extra minutes. But so I'm doing this lesson. And I even read to the group Alexander and the No Good, Very Bad, Terrible Rotten Day. I've just killed the title of that picture book. But it's about a little boy who's just having a really bad day, and at the end of the day, he just wants to go to Australia. And I think we all have those days. But there was something that kind of like I highlighted, it like popped out at me. It's like that scene in Jaws, where Roy Schneider goes back or he goes up, or I don't know, whatever it was. But anyway, but it kind of did that to me, to where it pointed itself out to me, and I was like, doggone, that's a thought, a new thought for me. I'd never thought that thought before. In verse 18, and I am in, oh gosh, this Bible cracks me up because it takes me forever. Am I in 37? I'm in chapter 37, maybe 37. We're going to say it's 37. It might be 38. This is laid out crazy. Verse 18. And this is simply what it says. It says, and they're talking about the brothers. They saw him, Joseph, in the distance, and before he had reached them, they plotted to kill him. And I told the group on Tuesday night, I said, this reminds me of when you're walking up to a group of people, or you're walking beside, you're walking up to folks, and all of a sudden everybody gets quiet. It's like you can hear crickets, and maybe the shuffling of feet, or maybe the clearing of a voice, of a throat. And you realize to yourself, self, I think they were talking about me. Now, guys, I know we've all had this experience. It has happened to everyone. And what's so funny about this is that I taught on this, and that, in fact, that whole scenario did happen to me this week. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay that it happened to me, because at the end of the day, I know who I belong to. And it's really hard sometimes to remember at the end of the day who you belong to, because our emotions get all caught up in things, and then our head starts doing this crazy stuff, thinking and going on. But guys, seriously, what joy we have that, you can say whatever you want. Even if, whether you have a problem with me or not, or anybody has a problem with anybody, you can say whatever you want. But at the end of the day, I am still a child of God. And that's pretty cool. So I just wanted to share that. That's my wisdom, wit, and my what you reading. But I also wanted to share with you a little bit of my own writing. See, when you're not published, you got to walk around with a computer lagged to your arm. Okay. So again, this is untitled. This is like my fourth book, I think. This is untitled. It's a part of a series. Backstory for this story is that this is about a young lady. She's a teacher. Oh, imagine that. And she's relocating from Lexington, Kentucky area to the mountains of Kentucky that has just gone through what they call a 100-year flood. Sound familiar? I think so. And so she has not gotten off on the best footing with her boss, who is the superintendent of this small school system that she's working with. And so she's new in town. She's the outsider. She's the city slicker. She's not, she's not homegrown. So people treat her differently. And Garrett Dean, who is the superintendent, he too started off with that kind of attitude towards her, because he has kind of a little problem with the way people look at Appalachian people. He doesn't like it when people talk down about mountain folk, like we all, don't have an education and we walk around barefooted. I am barefooted right now. Or that we all don't have our own teeth. I do have my own teeth. So he's really kind of got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder over that. So he and Amelia do not start on the best of terms. Now, here's the thing, though. The trope, for those of you who are into that sort of thing, this is a lovers to enemy an enemies to lover kind of trope, and it evolves, I think it evolves really well. So, because we are in Eastern Kentucky, there are some things going on in Garrett Dean's life. Because of the flood, the markers on the deed to his property and his neighbor's property, the markers have been moved. And so he's trying to figure out where the lines are at, because the guy the gentleman, there ain't nothing gentle about Big Hoss, but Big Hoss Owens owns the property next door, or on the other side of the mountain. And he's not really somebody you'd want to fool with. Now, a couple of days before this scene has occurred, Big Hoss, Big Hoss kind of put a gun on Garrett Dean. Garrett Dean went over to check out the property lines, and he decided he was going to, sneak in and kind of be like a ninja. And Big Hoss, he surprised Big Hoss, and he surprised him by pointing a gun at him. So this is a couple of days later, and Garrett Dean is trying to, figure out courthouse papers and try to research everything to see, gosh, is this going to be another feud? I mean, am I going to have to fight this man, or what are we going to have to do? So anyway, here we go. I hope you enjoy it. Between his wandering thoughts about the new teacher and his dealings with Big Hoss Owens, Garrett Dean was about done. Done thinking, done worrying, done. He'd hightailed it over to the courthouse, conveniently located just across the street from the Board of Education, on his lunch break the Monday after homecoming and his little chat with the sheriff. A muddy mess. He couldn't make heads or tails of the documents. Poring over maps, deeds, and courthouse records had him wading in a vat of sorghum. With the unclear historical information, he wondered who owned what. That uncertainty could cause an old-fashioned family feud. Garrett Dean might need to think about hiring a real estate lawyer with some expertise in litigation. Litigation? That word itself made a cold shiver run up his spine. The same cold shiver that ran up his spine when he thought back about what happened while he was at the courthouse. As he was leaving the PVA's office, he caught something out of the corner of his eye. Could it be? The whole reason for his little trip across the street was huddled with one of his kinfolk. Strange. Chatting like schoolgirls they were. Garrett Dean didn't seem alarmed until he heard the word Adams roll out of Big Hoss's mouth. His feet stopped before his brain caught up. Big Hoss's second cousin, once removed from his mama's side, slapped Big Hoss on the arm as a means to shut him up. A palpable pause filled the hallway as they all stared at one another. For a collective moment, Garrett Dean took in his surroundings, the sterile walls, the shiny tile, the strange smell of all official public buildings. The thought of Big Hoss saying Amelia's name, left a sick feeling in his stomach. The same sick feeling he'd had only days before looking down the barrel of Big Hoss's rifle. There they stood. A staring contest ensued until Garrett Dean gave the manly nod and moved on, not allowing any space to tighten up between them. The last thing he wanted was to have one of those die in the street like your brother did moments like the old Scott Irish back in the day. Of all the folks in the mountain to have a property dispute with, he had ended up dancing the two-step with the devil himself. And now he had overheard something, or part of something, not intended for his ears. This had the makings of a real mess. He decided right then and there not to borrow tomorrow's troubles. He sure enough had plenty of his own for today. I went way over, guys, but I hope you enjoyed a few of my words. And listen, just know that you are a child of the King. See ya.